Hello, friends. Day 45. Bar is closed. It's like the downward slope, right? It's like we're almost there. I like winning, so at this point, there's kind of a sense of satisfaction that it's actually very approachable. It's 15 days away. I'm already celebrating. Celebrating with a drink in my mind. It's the holidays, and I can see how not drinking during the holidays could feel lonely for some people. It feels like a, cheer, the way you cheer with people. And so, for me, I want to reaffirm that the non-alcoholic beer has been super helpful during my sobriety. Just to be able to quench that urge and go take off and sit down and hit a bar. If I get to a new city, traveling, whatever, I can hit a bar, get a couple of pints, drink through a few beers, and it's as if I went and got my drinks. And I think if I didn't do that, it would be a heck of a lot more difficult. I'd be more uptight, something. And there's that. And, to that note, the uptight thing is kind of interesting to me. I actually often thought about people who didn't drink and who were like at the gym all the time and who were, had these great diets and who were, these regimented families. That shit was uptight. And I would imagine that would be a bit much over time for people, including themselves. And I figured drinking would help avoid that type of person. Although, funny enough, I was sitting there eating tonight at this local restaurant, sitting with a bar, and there was this really well put together guy, totally dialed in. I don't know why I speak to him that way, but he obviously was fit. He was working on his phone a bit, but he seemed very healthy. He was eating a rice bowl or whatever. And I don't know, I just kind of had to try to change my mindset around being healthy and being fit, and all of that somehow means being lame, being type A kind of mentality of forcing life where, through drinking and all that stuff, you kind of get to ride the river of life a little bit more. So I'm kind of trying to figure out and bridge that a bit more. I am, in the opposite form of my self-defecation. I got to say, I feel more alive than ever. I feel super in touch with my feelings on a day-to-day basis. I understand kind of the variances of, it's where I think CBD and tea and, my pipe still, if I didn't have my tobacco pipe, and being able to sit and do my puffing on my pipe a bit and taking in that nicotine and still doing that, I would have a much harder time with the cigarettes. The non-alcoholic beer is really super helpful. I haven't been able to stock up on non-alcoholic wine, so I did that one night with some white wine, but other than that, that could really complement as well, to where my drinking culture is totally handled. And then these supplements to kind of help, you navigate through life a little bit more on a day-to-day as your emotions take a turn, or stress, peaks up on you, or different forms of anxiety kind of play in and out of your daily life, and you're feeling them, you're not avoiding them, or you're not clocking out in any type of ways. I think really finding ways to supplement, is I'm obviously just learning, and I think that's probably pretty 101 as well, is find what works for you to keep your vibe, and keep flowing. I think, also what I'm finding is that I'm stumbling into a form of stoicism. Part of this effort for me is, as much as I want to justify why I didn't drink, or why I do drink, or whatever, the reality is, more than anything, I just don't want to be weak. Right? I don't want to be someone who doesn't have enough discipline and self-worth to make tough calls for myself when I want to change habits the way I want to, or to go after things that I want to, or let go of things that I want to. And so this is an exercise in saying, no, fuck you, you can't be weak, Heath. I expect better of you. I expect you to really come correct on this, and you can't fuck this up. And so that person and I are working this through, but what I'm kind of stumbling on is, it's kind of funny how the stoicism thing came. I posted some kind of meme thing on Bars Closed Facebook, and one of my friends from high school, and a colleague from high school, and someone who stayed in touch over that I really admired and still do, comments on the meme that I posted and said it's heavy or deep or something. It's this stoicism. And I was like, at first I didn't check myself, and I was thinking stoicism is one thing. And before I responded in that original belief system, I had a moment to pause and say, well, let me double check what stoicism really is. And as I look into it, I realized that, in that I had a false image of what, or at least a false attitude about what Stoicism meant to me. And so I'm then furthermore on an airplane, and I'm kind of looking through one of the airline advertising magazines mostly, right? And there's this guy who puts out this book, Brave New World. This guy's putting out a book, and I'm going to just read right here. Give me 1 second. Based on moral teachings of Stoicism, the ancient Greco. So Holiday has made a career of writing motivational books based on the moral teachings of Stoicism, an ancient Greco-Roman philosophy that encourages self-discipline, civic responsibility, and the acceptance of painful truths. Self-discipline, civic responsibility, and the acceptance of painful truths. I mean, that's my fucking life. That's it right there. That's what I've been at odds with trying to come to terms with. And part of what's so fun about checking out is your heart hurts, or your soul hurts, or you don't feel like you fit in, or whatever, all the shit that we come up with. But, in my mind, I know that I have no excuse for not coming correct. And so what does come correct mean? Well, number one, it means that if you think you can't handle your booze, you better get a handle on it. Or if you think, you're clocking out using vices, booze or otherwise, because you can't handle your feelings, well, you better get a handle of them. If your relationship is not garnering your attention, and therefore it's falling through the cracks and maybe falling apart, you better get a handle of it before it gets a handle of you. And, we just repeat the cycle. So, I talked before about alcohol, whether it gives you power, or whether it doesn't give you power or whatever. But I think right now, this is what I've come to terms with on day 45 on the countdown, 15 days until I can do whatever the fuck I want. Once again with alcohol, and own it in my own life as I do with anything, is kind of starting to embrace this new exploration into the world of Stoicism. And not from the concept that I had where you had these kind of Mad Men television show kind of characters who got to do whatever the fuck they wanted and shit on their sons and didn't pay attention and took themselves too seriously and didn't show their feelings. I mean, that was the generation above us that we rightfully despised, or maybe above us, that we kind of lingered on with. But so that whole hippie rebellion was that stoic character, and it doesn't have to look like that. Stoicism can look just like it sounds. Hold your head high, put your chest out, understand life is hard, and what's your reaction to that? And how are you going to handle it? And with what utilities and what vices? All right, 45 days. Still talking. Good night.
Time.